The frozen sweetness melted on Oh Kyung-tak's tongue like winter snow kissed by spring sunshine, sending shivers of pure amazement through his sun-weathered body as he experienced his first taste of ice cream on a blazing hot July afternoon in 1952. Around him in the recreation yard of the American prisoner of war camp, hundreds of other North Korean soldiers stood in stunned silence, holding small paper cups filled with the miraculous frozen dessert that had appeared as if by magic from an American military ice cream truck that had somehow materialized in the middle of their compound like something from a fever dream. The vanilla ice cream, though Oh had no name for this flavor or even a concept for what he was experiencing, was impossibly cold, impossibly sweet, and impossibly smooth as it dissolved against his palate. He had never tasted anything like it, had never even imagined that such a substance could exist. Here was frozen milk that had been transformed into something that seemed more like edible clouds than actual food, served on a day when the Korean summer heat made every breath feel like inhaling fire and every movement an exercise in endurance. Oh had been a rice farmer before the war, working flooded terraces in the mountains of South Pyongan province where his family had grown grain through countless generations of backbreaking labor under sun, rain, and snow. The only cold treats he had ever known were winter icicles broken from roof edges during the harshest months, or occasionally snow mixed with honey when such luxury was available during New Year celebrations. The idea that frozen desserts could be manufactured, transported, and served casually to enemy prisoners on hot summer days seemed to violate every natural law he understood about the relationship between seasons, temperature, and human survival. The American guard who had distributed the ice cream, a smiling corporal from Wisconsin who seemed genuinely pleased to be offering this treat, had announced through interpreters that ice cream service was a regular summer program designed to help prisoners cope with Korea's brutal heat and maintain morale during the long, uncertain months of captivity. The casual manner in which this announcement was made, as if providing frozen desserts to enemy soldiers was the most natural thing in the world, challenged everything Oh had been taught about American cruelty and the impossibility of abundance during wartime. This is the story of that ice cream and thousands of servings like it. Moments of frozen sweetness that would melt away in minutes, but leave lasting impressions that challenged everything these prisoners thought they knew about their captors, their own society, and what modern civilization could achieve when luxury and comfort became routine rather than miraculous. The Korean War had erupted in June 1950 with both sides convinced that their enemies represented backward, cruel societies incapable of true human progress or genuine concern for individual welfare. North Korean propaganda had portrayed Americans as heartless capitalists who squeezed profit from human misery and treated working people as disposable resources in their endless pursuit of wealth. The sight of American soldiers voluntarily distributing premium frozen desserts to enemy prisoners on hot summer days contradicted every assumption Oh had held about capitalist society and military organization. Oh's capture near Pork Chop Hill in May 1952 had been terrifying because communist authorities had prepared him to expect torture, starvation, and brutal treatment designed to break his spirit and extract military intelligence. Instead, he found himself processed through a systematic intake procedure that included medical examination, adequate nutrition, and living conditions that exceeded what many North Korean soldiers experienced during active military service. But nothing had prepared him for ice cream. The refrigeration truck that had delivered the frozen treats represented industrial and logistical capabilities that seemed almost magical to prisoners from a society where ice was a seasonal phenomenon and refrigeration was unknown outside of major cities. Somehow, Americans had managed to create, transport, and maintain frozen desserts in perfect condition across thousands of miles of ocean, through complex supply chains, and into the middle of an active war zone where such luxuries should have been impossible to obtain or maintain. Private Rodriguez, the truck driver from California who had volunteered for ice cream distribution duty, explained through interpreters that frozen dessert service was standard practice in American military facilities during hot weather. Ice cream was considered essential for maintaining troop morale and providing relief from extreme temperatures, and extending this service to prisoners was simply an extension of normal humanitarian care rather than extraordinary generosity. This casual attitude toward luxury, treating exotic frozen desserts as routine necessities, revealed levels of abundance and industrial sophistication that seemed impossible to men from societies organized around scarcity and survival. The ice cream itself was a revelation that challenged basic assumptions about food, technology, and resource allocation. Oh had never encountered dairy products beyond occasional fresh milk, had never tasted anything artificially flavored or sweetened to such intensity, and had certainly never consumed anything that had been deliberately frozen for preservation and pleasure rather than necessity. The combination of cold temperature, sweet flavor, and smooth texture created sensory experiences that his brain struggled to process and categorize. The variety of flavors available, vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, introduced concepts of choice and personal preference that were foreign to Oh's experience with food distribution in North Korean society. Guards encouraged prisoners to try different flavors, to express preferences, and to request seconds if supply allowed. This emphasis on individual satisfaction and personal taste rather than simple caloric provision suggested fundamentally different approaches to human needs and dignity. Sergeant Kim Kol-nam, a former political instructor who had been captured alongside Oh, was initially suspicious of American generosity in providing frozen luxuries to enemy prisoners. "This is psychological warfare," he whispered to fellow prisoners during evening barracks discussions. "They're trying to weaken our revolutionary resolve by making us dependent on capitalist luxuries. They want us to forget our duty to the people and become corrupted by bourgeois pleasures that serve no productive purpose." But even Kim found his ideological resistance melting like ice cream in summer heat, as the frozen treats provided genuine relief from oppressive temperatures and undeniable pleasure that seemed to transcend political considerations. The immediate physical comfort of cold dessert on blazing hot days was too practical and beneficial to dismiss as mere capitalist manipulation, especially when American guards shared the same treats and obviously enjoyed them for the same reasons. The social dynamics surrounding ice cream distribution created opportunities for informal cultural exchange that might not have occurred under more formal circumstances. Prisoners practiced English vocabulary related to flavors, temperatures, and food preferences, while American guards learned Korean words for cold, sweet, and delicious. These interactions were lighthearted and genuine, creating moments of human connection that transcended the normal barriers between captors and captives. The industrial sophistication required to maintain ice cream service impressed prisoners with technical backgrounds who could appreciate the complexity involved in preserving frozen products under field conditions. Refrigeration equipment, insulated transport, precise temperature controls, and systematic distribution procedures demonstrated technological capabilities and organizational efficiency that extended far beyond basic military necessities into the realm of luxury provision. Corporal Johnson from Ohio, who had grown up on a dairy farm and understood ice cream production from agricultural and manufacturing perspectives, began sharing knowledge about American food processing industries through informal conversations during distribution times. His descriptions of mechanized dairy farming, industrial ice cream factories, and nationwide distribution networks painted pictures of productive capacity that seemed almost mythical to prisoners from agricultural societies where food production remained largely manual and localized. The medical benefits of ice cream service became apparent during Korea's brutal summer months, when frozen treats provided not just psychological pleasure, but also practical cooling effects and additional nutrition for men struggling with heat exhaustion and dehydration. American medical personnel explained that frozen dairy products could help maintain body temperature, provide essential calories, and boost morale in ways that contributed to overall prisoner health and well-being. Oh began to understand that ice cream service represented something profound about American approaches to human welfare and resource allocation. The same logistical systems that could maintain frozen dessert distribution to remote prison camps could also supply complex equipment, medical supplies, and technical materials to military forces operating anywhere in the world. The daily ice cream service was a small demonstration of industrial capacity and organizational culture that had implications far beyond prisoner comfort. The contrast with North Korean approaches to luxury and resource distribution was painful for prisoners who began to recognize how different their homeland's priorities had been. Oh remembered summers during his youth when entire villages had suffered through sweltering heat without any form of artificial cooling, when ice was available only during winter months and was precious enough to be saved and rationed carefully. The casual American assumption that frozen treats should be available during hot weather seemed to represent a completely different relationship between human needs and social organization. As summer intensified in 1952, ice cream service became one of the most anticipated events in daily camp routine, providing not just physical relief from heat, but also psychological comfort and social interaction that helped maintain prisoner morale during long, uncertain months of captivity. The reliability of ice cream delivery, every hot day without fail, provided evidence of American organizational consistency and commitment to prisoner welfare that extended beyond basic survival needs. The educational aspects of ice cream culture provided unexpected insights into American society and civilian life. Prisoners learned that ice cream was widely available to American families, that children consumed frozen treats regularly during summer months, and that ice cream parlors and soda fountains served as popular social gathering places throughout American communities. These descriptions of routine abundance and casual luxury seemed almost fantastical to men from societies where such pleasures were unknown or reserved for the highest political officials. Private Yu Sung-ho, a former factory worker who had been trained in basic mechanical repair, became fascinated by the refrigeration equipment used to maintain ice cream quality during transport and storage. American technicians allowed him to observe maintenance procedures and explain basic principles of mechanical cooling, providing technical education that had applications beyond frozen dessert production. This knowledge-sharing demonstrated American confidence in their technological superiority and willingness to educate even enemy prisoners about industrial processes. The cultural significance of ice cream in American society gradually became apparent through conversations with guards who shared personal memories of childhood ice cream experiences, family traditions around frozen treats, and regional preferences for different flavors and preparations. These stories revealed a culture where pleasure and enjoyment were considered legitimate goals in themselves rather than dangerous distractions from serious political or economic objectives. As autumn approached in 1952, the end of ice cream season took on symbolic significance as prisoners realized they were witnessing the conclusion of something extraordinary, a systematic demonstration of American abundance and technological capability that had provided daily evidence of what modern industrial society could achieve when comfort and luxury became routine rather than exceptional. The final ice cream service of the summer season was both celebration and melancholy farewell. Oh, and hundreds of other prisoners savored their frozen treats with particular intensity, understanding that cooling weather would end this daily ritual that had become such an important part of their captivity experience. American guards seemed equally moved by the significance of the moment, taking extra care to ensure that everyone received their favorite flavors and adequate portions. The industrial scale of American ice cream production became even more impressive when prisoners learned that similar frozen dessert services were being provided simultaneously to American military personnel throughout Korea, Japan, and other Pacific theater operations. The logistical coordination required to maintain frozen food distribution across such vast distances and multiple facilities demonstrated organizational capabilities that had applications far beyond military operations. Winter's arrival in late 1952 ended outdoor ice cream service, but not the memories and lessons learned through summer months of frozen luxury. Prisoners continued to discuss their ice cream experiences during long winter evenings, analyzing what they had witnessed about American industrial capacity, social values, and approaches to human comfort and dignity. The spring of 1953 brought renewed anticipation for ice cream season's return, along with increased understanding of what the frozen treats represented about American confidence in their ability to provide abundance even under challenging circumstances. Prisoners who had initially been suspicious of capitalist luxury had become genuine enthusiasts who looked forward to summer's frozen pleasures with enthusiasm that would have shocked their former political instructors. As armistice negotiations intensified during 1953, many prisoners faced the prospect of repatriation with mixed emotions about leaving behind the ice cream service that had become such a meaningful part of their daily routine. How could they explain to family members back home that they had regularly consumed frozen desserts during captivity? How could they convey the significance of what they had witnessed about American abundance and technological sophistication? The final ice cream service before the armistice in July 1953 was emotionally charged as prisoners understood they were experiencing their last taste of frozen luxury that might never be available to them again. American guards made special efforts to provide extra portions and ensure that everyone could enjoy their favorite flavors one final time, creating lasting memories of American generosity and concern for prisoner welfare. Private Rodriguez, the California driver who had supervised ice cream distribution throughout 2 summers of service, presented O with an empty ice cream container as a farewell memento, a simple cardboard cup that represented something precious about the American commitment to maintaining luxury and comfort even for enemy prisoners under wartime conditions. The repatriation process that began in August 1953 included final demonstrations of American logistical efficiency and humanitarian concern, but no ice cream service due to autumn weather and the practical requirements of prisoner transport. Many prisoners saved their final ice cream cups as tangible reminders of experiences that would be difficult to explain or replicate in their homeland. Oh Kyung-tak stood at the rail of a repatriation ship in September 1953, holding the cardboard ice cream container that had become a treasured symbol of American abundance and technological capability. The simple cup represented daily evidence of what modern industrial society could achieve when luxury and comfort became routine aspects of human care rather than impossible dreams. The North Korea he was returning to had not developed refrigeration infrastructure or dairy industries capable of producing frozen desserts during the 3 years of war, nor was such development likely given the country's economic priorities and international isolation. Ice cream would remain unknown to most North Koreans for decades to come, making Oh's summer experiences seem even more remarkable and significant. But Oh carried with him more than just memories of frozen sweetness and cool relief from summer heat. He carried a fundamentally different understanding of what modern civilization could achieve when technological capability was directed toward human comfort and pleasure rather than mere survival, when abundance became routine rather than miraculous, and when even enemies could be treated to luxuries that demonstrated the best possibilities of human society. The story doesn't end with repatriation and return to a homeland where ice cream remained unknown. In the decades that followed the Korean War, some former prisoners carried their memories of American frozen luxury as they rebuilt their lives and contributed to their country's gradual development. While ice cream remained unavailable, the understanding of what technological sophistication and industrial abundance could mean for human welfare influenced perspectives on development priorities and social possibilities. Some former prisoners became advocates for improved food production and distribution systems within the constraints of North Korean political and economic structures, arguing that attention to human comfort and pleasure could improve morale and productivity without undermining revolutionary goals. Others shared their ice cream experiences with trusted family members as examples of what prosperous societies could provide when technological capability was abundant and well-organized. The American guards and personnel who had participated in ice cream service returned to civilian life with enhanced appreciation for the routine abundance and technological sophistication they had always taken for granted, along with deeper understanding of how such luxuries appeared to people from societies where refrigeration and frozen foods remained unknown. The summer ice cream program had demonstrated something profound about the relationship between technological capability and human dignity. It had shown that societies with advanced industrial capacity could afford to provide luxuries even to their enemies, and that such generosity could be more effective than coercion in demonstrating the superiority of their values and achievements. But perhaps most importantly, the ice cream service had revealed the power of simple pleasures to maintain human dignity and hope even under the most difficult circumstances. The prisoners who had learned to appreciate frozen desserts in American camps had experienced something that transcended political ideology and national identity: the universal human capacity for joy and the recognition that life could include sweetness as well as struggle. The cardboard cup no longer held frozen treats. The refrigeration trucks had been deployed elsewhere, and the daily ice cream service had ended with changing seasons and repatriation. But the lessons learned through hundreds of summer afternoon ice cream distributions, that abundance was possible, that technology could serve human pleasure as well as basic needs, that enemies could become friends through shared enjoyment of simple luxuries, would continue to influence understanding and hope long after the last spoonful had melted and the final cup had been discarded. Today, ice cream culture has spread throughout Asia, including South Korea, where frozen dessert shops and convenience store freezers provide daily access to luxuries that would have seemed impossible to previous generations. The North Korean prisoners who first encountered ice cream in American camps witnessed an early example of how technological sophistication and industrial abundance could create new possibilities for human pleasure and comfort. The ice cream had melted away in summer heat, the cups had been collected and disposed of, and the prisoners had returned to a homeland where such frozen luxuries remained unavailable. But the memory of cold sweetness on hot days, the understanding of what abundance could provide, and the recognition that even enemies could be generous when resources were plentiful would prove more lasting than any political system and more powerful than any ideology seeking to deny the human capacity for joy and the possibility of societies organized around comfort rather than mere survival. That perhaps is the ultimate lesson of the Korean War ice cream service, that sometimes the most profound demonstrations of civilizational achievement come not through grand political gestures or military victories, but through simple acts of providing pleasure and comfort that recognize and honor our common humanity. The frozen treats had melted away, but their message would endure, that advanced societies can choose to provide sweetness as well as sustenance, that technology can serve joy as well as necessity, and that a cup of ice cream shared with former enemies can become a symbol of everything that makes life worth celebrating and human dignity worth preserving.